pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we'll start with roll call.
John Aldred. Francis Bach.
Here.
Brian Burns.
Here.
Del Cullum. Richard Drew.
Here.
James Grimes.
Yes.
Susan McGraw-Keeber.
Here.
Bill Taylor.
Here.
Susan Vorpal.
Here.
Okay, thank you.
All right, move on to public comment. Brian Grogan.
Yep, to the
Yeah,
podium.
To the podium, please.
Hi, I'm Brian Grogan with PW Grosser Consulting, representing the Wainscott Pond project tonight. We're here today to request your approval for us to conduct a sediment sampling project within Wainscott Pond. I believe you all have a copy of the sediment sampling plan. There's 16 proposed locations within the pond. This plan has been submitted and approved by New York State DEC already. We're here to, obviously this is the first step in a potential dredging project. We need to kind of look at what sediment is in the pond and then determine what we have to do with that sediment once it's dredged. We're looking to, in accordance to what we spoke to DEC about, we're going to be dredging down to what they call hard bottom, or the native sand and material, which would basically get through the 1 to say 3 feet of muck and mud at the bottom of the pond, kind of restoring it back to probably its original conditions ultimately later on. But again,
Topography-wise, yeah.
really this first is just to take samples just so we know what we're dealing with.
Yeah, hey, Brian, you guys have got another application in to us
Yes.
for the fish tank filter
Yes.
thing. And, you know, we had a meeting about a month ago, or more than a month ago now. And the issue we have with you guys is you seem to forget who the owner of the property is, because you have an application into the DEC yet again, okay, without coming to this board first, okay? This is a late, when did you deliver this?
I don't understand this is late.
Yeah, okay, and I think we contacted you, and when we had this meeting the last time, when we met at our offices, we were gonna try and arrange a meeting with Kim Shaw, and that's just been difficult to do. So I think we're probably premature on even discussing this.
Okay.
Until we have something that's comprehensive from you guys, okay? We don't want to deal with this in a piecemeal fashion. We don't want to talk about core samples and then a week later be talking about some other little pilot program. Give us a comprehensive proposal for that pond, and that's what I was hoping to talk to Natural Resources about. Because I
Understood.
really feel like you get ahead of yourselves on the fact that you seem to completely disregard this board until after the fact. Okay, now this is the second time, all right? But most importantly, we have a very strong interest in this body of water. We applaud anybody that's trying to help, but this seems to be somewhat unilateral on the part of this Wainscott committee. And we really have got to have a sit-down where we can discuss this with the other agencies within the community. And it'll give everybody the opportunity, it'll give you an opportunity to come up with a comprehensive plan and a proposal to not only our board, but to Natural Resources, so that we can all move forward with this together.
Understood. I had a meeting with Brian Frank this afternoon, which we tried to get Kim to, but she couldn't make it. And Brian, I brought him up to speed on where we stood with the filter project. I basically gave him the same report that Simon had presented to you guys last time. He's going to review it and get back to us with some kind of comments on what he thinks is best there. He also indicated that he almost would rather see for the natural resources side, separate permit applications, as some of the things we're looking to do may not require his approval or natural resources.
All right.
So I understand the need for a comprehensive report, and I know there's multiple different options here on the table as potential remedies for the condition of the pond. So we'll have to regroup and decide how we move, how that gets
Right.
moved forward.
Because, it's, to me, it's a little presumptuous to send a report over literally hours, a proposal.
January.
This was done prior to, and I had a meeting last Friday with Simon and Mr. Lauder, and it was not my decision, but immediately after that meeting, an email was sent saying, can we get on for the next meeting?
Okay, but I don't, did you send this to us? Because I don't ever remember seeing this.
I got one today.
No, I
It's dated January
we
24th.
had originally, again, when this first started, we had originally had a meeting with DEC, with Chris Gobler, a while ago. And as part of that, they said if we were looking to dredge, you got to get us a sampling sediment plan.
Okay.
We
but
did
see-
that.
But see, Brian,
I understand, I
this
understand
is,
your point.
this is my problem with you, with Simon, and the organization. You had a meeting with Chris Gobler and the DEC, okay? We should be an active participant in all of this, okay? And you should have come to us first. We had a discussion about that some time ago, but yet we seem to be doing the exact same thing again. And personally, I'm not inclined to do anything on this until we've had a meeting.
Understood, and I tried to follow up with Kim after you and I had spoken, because I
And she's not in until
Understood.
Wednesday.
No, and I've been following up with her for the past month or so to try to see where this meeting is, if we can get a
Hard to
meeting.
get all the parties.
I completely understand. I understand it's
Yeah.
difficult to get 10 people in a room. I know we need to do that, but,
Right.
so,
With the DEC, they shouldn't even process an application until they get the owner's permission.
they reached out to us, I guess, after the last, when Simon was here last, they had reached out and said, oh, the trustees called us, they want to know what you're doing, they think you're doing something, and I said, we're in the initial, basically, planning stages. We haven't done anything.
Yes.
So we acknowledged that, and we said that we were going to try to meet with you guys and talk.
I really think getting samples is like one of the first things we should do, because that'll
Well,
help identify
hey,
the problem.
it's a first step, but hey, Bill,
But we gotta get this straightened out.
the deal here is we need to have a complete and total plan of what you guys are looking to do moving forward and the timeline that you're looking to do it in. Because right now, we're getting this stuff kind of piecemeal from you. And
Understood.
like we said at the last
No,
meeting.
and we
I
can
think
get
that's
you,
very
we can get
important.
you, in essence, what we would like to do. The timeframes are going to be hard to determine because we need permits from everyone. So I don't know when we're going to be able to start certain items,
Okay.
So again,
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, the first step in this process is procuring the permission of this board, okay, before you're doing anything else. Because even when you're talking to Brian Frank, even when you're talking to Kim Shaw, the first step here is, I know you represent the Friends of Wayne Scott Pond, but you don't necessarily represent the trustees of East Hampton. And certainly, don't be so presumptuous as to think that we are on board with this thing. When we
understood.
had the last conversation, we had a lot of questions about that were all going to be hashed out at this one meeting. Yet you guys are kicking stuff forward here, and it
Understood.
doesn't sit well with me.
understood. How can I help organize this meeting?
Well,
Way that
as
I-
soon as, no, I mean, listen, I've been in multiple times to Kim's office. It's been difficult. There's been a lot going on there. There's been a lot going on in our offices. I was really hoping to get a meeting set up very soon. I was in their offices today. Melissa told me she's not due back in the office until Wednesday.
Okay.
So come Wednesday, I hope we can have a discussion.
Okay.
And,
I suspect we might be able to get something together next week.
yeah, and if we can, that's all good. But until then, well, I don't think it makes sense to move or even discuss this, because I haven't had a chance to look at this, and I don't know whether anybody else on this board has. So,
I have a question to anybody who knows. Is this, I think you said you have DEC approval to do test bores?
In essence, they reviewed this plan, commented on it once, it was revised, and they said they were accepting of it.
You guys are getting way ahead of yourselves.
I understand that.
More question, another question. What does the town require of you to do test bores? Have they told you that?
No.
So you don't know if they're going to require a full-on natural resource special permit, something less than
Brian
that?
didn't seem to, I mentioned this dredging plan, he didn't seem to think that that was, again, gonna require anything, but that's, we left it with him, you know, what we were looking to do. Again, this really in order to develop any kind of dredging plan to move forward, we need to know what's in the sediment that's there now. Brian mentioned, you know, the prior agricultural uses around the area, which we're aware of, that there may be some odd things in the sediment there. We're looking to see what that is, and then we would need to then know that information to develop an actual dredging plan to figure out how to handle it. So the second stage of that, in essence, we could say we want to dredge the pond, but we don't know what we're up against until this sampling is conducted. Then we know how to handle what's in the pond.
let's try and do a one-stop shop on this. Sit down with us, Brian, Kim.
At least with us. I mean,
Yeah,
Tap can handle it any way they want, but
yeah, well, I
we'd
just
we'd
think
like
it's
to
good
have
to
a
have,
whole
I think
comprehensive plan.
it's good
Okay.
just to have a sit-down
Mhm.
with the other members of the board, because otherwise, you know, we're doing this in such a compartmentalized fashion.
Mhm.
I think that's gonna create some issues.
Yeah, and,
The last issue with
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The last issue with test boring that I heard about on land required town board permission, created quite a controversy, so kind of wondering what the town feels about this, how the town or we have to weigh in on it.
Okay, well, in any case, Brian, I'll contact Kim. You called me today, I've got your number.
Yep.
I'll reach out to you as soon as I hear from her.
Hey, Jim, from a process standpoint, do you find it a little odd that the DEC would issue an approval
On a
without?
There was no written approval. They verbally said it was acceptable. There was no written approval.
All right, well,
I had a conversation with the DEC. In fact, I'm the ones who notified them that we were the owners, and they had no idea.
Oh, you know what, all kidding
The
aside,
assumption was that,
that's very that's very, upsetting, because, it's almost like Cy left us out of that conversation. He's not here to defend himself.
No, I know, and I apologize. I
Going forward.
understood.
We are the largest stakeholder. We own the bottom of the pond. We want to do the right thing. We certainly don't want to be left out of
No,
these
understood, and I'm not looking to
conversation.
step on toes and
Whether it's
to
Dr.
upset.
Gobler, the DEC,
Okay.
I wasn't aware, when I met you in the hallway, that this side of the coin was apparent now, that it
I
doesn't
look-
put a good taste
Understood,
in my mouth, yeah.
understood.
Okay.
anything else?
So,
Anybody?
for us, aside from this meeting that we're gonna try to set up, would it be best to develop a formal plan and come back before the trustees and present that plan? Do you want
well,
to?
I think the best thing is what we discussed at our last meeting, and that is to have a sit-down with the interested parties where you can flesh out in broad strokes, okay, your plans.
Okay.
Okay, and then come back with a detailed document to this board that describes that what was informally approved at that discussion so that we can look at it and vote
Okay.
on it. Fair enough?
Sounds fair to me.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for your
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else wish to address the board?
Keep it down.
Right along.
All right, I don't have anything here under new business. Does anybody have anything to, no? Okay, so we'll move down to old business. Rick Whalen, the roads. What we
We
got?
are doing some research into the trustee roads in the northwest Wayne-Scott area. We're not quite there with potential feedback to the board and a possible resolution on those trustee holdings. So we would like to table that until the next meeting.
Okay.
But we are in progress. We're close.
Great.
Know my neighborhood.
Knock on Susan's door.
Come by for some cool
Give us some tea, nice tea.
Exactly.
Powering soft clams. John?
Well, I got some feedback with the towering of soft clams was the first come, first serve element of it was carried out last Thursday, a week ago Thursday, and, no, it was last Thursday. And that went well, no fist fights, just 10 people, pretty much, well, 11. One fellow didn't have his commercial license. So we had 10 people. I got some feedback on Friday, the next day, that there really was not much to be found of anything in the sites. So along with that feedback, we got a request by some of the participants that we consider opening another area, the flat off Hicks Island, to the southeast of Hicks Island, because that area had produced soft clams the last time there was a relay or an opening. So got together with the committee and Chris, and we decided that it would be appropriate for us to authorize 2 participants to do a survey of the Hicks Island flat to see if there was anything there, and then bring that information to this meeting tonight to determine if we wanted to go ahead and open that as well. So they did that survey last week.
Now, John, did they actually try to power?
They
in there?
Yeah, and I have some video, but I can't get that machine to come on, so I can't show it, but it shows that, in effect, there was nothing on that flat either, so.
I did run into one bayman today down at Commercial Dock when I was down there, and he did have a good little bunch, but he wasn't, Mom was the word was put sparking out the mat. Because you know how they are.
Well, let's hope he got it in one of the approved places.
But yeah, he did, and he was thankful that he was able to get one of the permits.
Oh, good.
But he had a good little mess of them. He was bringing in the stewards.
Good.
Susie, if your father did it, or people that you know did it, is the quantity, is like hit and miss from season to season?
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
My father was never really a clamor
Right, right,
much. My grandfather was, but that was up in Peconic.
right, right.
He did, Shinnecock.
So, a few years from now, it might be good.
My understanding of soft clams setting is that it's not a regular thing.
Yeah.
It's good years
It's-
and bad years,
Okay.
good periods and bad periods.
In different areas.
Well, that's encouraging, then.
But John, didn't we originally agree to open up this power clam season based on original survey work that indicated that there was potentially a healthy population to commercially harvest? off of?
Yeah, and
So that seems,
our understanding was there was going to be powering involved in that surveying, but evidently they saw holes. They saw holes in the sediment and presumed that they were soft clam holes. And that's, I had that on the video, you can, which you can't see, but it shows holes. And this was in the southern end of Napeag, shows lots and lots of holes. But it turns out they were worm holes, not soft clam holes. So
Okay.
they felt that based on that visual, that there was enough there to warrant those areas being productive.
So do we have a game plan moving forward for the rest of the season?
Well, I don't think we should open, any more areas, because then we'll just go down a road of opening one area after another, and most likely finding the same thing. I would think.
Disturb the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Okay.
Is it possible that they change
We made our
week to week,
decision
though?
based
Or
on
no?
information
No,
that we
month
got
to
from
month?
Bayman.
Season.
And I think
Season-
we have to
season only?
stick with that for this season. We can revisit something like this again next year and maybe do some surveying in a little more thorough way before we decide to open.
Well, I think it was well worth the effort to see what might happen.
Okay. Phone literature study, EMFs and migratory fish update.
So if you recall, I guess I think this was last summer, we wrote a letter to Boehm. Every year Boehm has, or every 2 years, they have a series of studies that people can make requests to do. We requested they do a field study of the effects of EMFs on migratory fish in the surf zones. And they came back to us and authorized a literature search first. So, and then they said that if that literature search seemed to warrant further study, that they would consider a field study in a subsequent year. So I've been sort of following up a little bit to find out where they're at with this. I'll just read you the last email I got last week from them. It says, apologies for not getting back to you sooner. The project was awarded to CSA Ocean Sciences and Exponent Company in April of this year. There were no new field studies pursued with this contract, but rather a deep dive into existing data with a focus on potential EMF impacts on fish species of commercial or recreational fishing importance. The draft of the report is under internal review, and we hope to publish it as soon as possible.
Interesting.
That's the latest.
Good job, Darren.
So hopefully we'll have something more than that by the end of the summer.
Thanks for doing that, John. That's very important.
All right, move on to committee reports, aquaculture, the Mosquito lobby survey.
Cancel. Okay.
Canceled last week. We've had 2 weeks off.
John, are we paying you enough money? They're into everything.
No. Just fell that way on the agenda.
It's canceled because...
No, it was canceled this week because they didn't anticipate needing to spray this week. I think that's because we don't have any moon tides, and we haven't really had much rain in the last week, so.
I think Tom said he was sending out, they're going to see this morning with their own people if there seemed to be any spots that were missed last week. And if so, then they'll, address that, but not until the following week.
I think as we get into later July and August and September, we'll be picking up the pace, going on a regular basis. Seemed to be the way it unfolded last year. Later in the season, you got more humidity and rains came in the summer and the heat, was much more active breeding time.
Good news is only, last week, they only targeted 2 spots on the harbor. So that's a huge improvement from what they had done in the past years as we, you
Which
know.
was more like a prophylactic kind of spray.
Yeah, well, these I happen to have in my polygons, the 2 polygons that we walk, my team, we have 2 hot spots that are pretty fairly, reliable every week. However, one of them seems to be naturally growing some just grass of its own, and it's covering up. It's the depression of tire marks. So that seems to be less and less. Last year it was very heavily laden with larvae. But tomorrow I'm taking a tour. I'm taking a group. County Legislator Bridget Fleming wants to come up and see the actual hot spots, and so we're going to do that with Edwina and Bridget's intern. So we'll do a little tour.
How large are these areas, the 2 areas?
Mine is 3.5-mile walk.
No, but
And
if
so-
they targeted 2 areas,
Oh, how
how
large
large
are
is
they?
each target? Yeah.
roughly.
One is the size of this table, about.
So how
And the
large an
other-
area do they treat?
They
For
treat,
that.
well, I don't know exactly how many pellets are used, or,
No, 9, okay, so
But-
this is in a polygon, right?
Yes, mhm.
Do they do the entire polygon?
No,
No.
the map, I'm not sure exactly what Susan's referring to, but the map I recall seeing took a strip, maybe 2 miles long,
Mhm.
something like that, and that was the target.
Okay.
So that's in relation to probably, I don't know, 10, maybe 12 miles
Right.
altogether.
Mhm.
And the marsh is maybe, I don't know, 2,000 feet wide, let's say. And the strip that they did was about, I don't know, a couple, not even 200 feet wide.
Mhm.
So, and it just encompassed, the helicopter's not going to just come and do an area the
Right,
size
they
of this
can't.
table, but they'll take, a strip and
Mm-hmm.
allow.
but on the map, there are dots of different colors indicating the
Concentration.
severity of concentration. So in my particular, where we find the hotspot, the area would be like this. And then we have another hotspot that is similar in size. Well, it's actually longer, but now it's filling in with Spartina, which last year it was mostly just marsh, and there's a berm in front of it. So when the high tide comes in, it just kind of sits there, and then it's unable to.
Which Spartina is it filling in?
Sorry?
Which Spartina?
Well, that's a question for you.
No,
In my
is it-
salt marsh book, I don't have it with me.
Is it Peyton's or is it Ultima 4?
Well, I don't know. I'll have to show you the picture of it.
A couple
It's
of...
nice and sturdy. It's filling in nicely.
A
It's-
couple of years ago, I saw somebody from County Vector,
They wide leaves.
and he
or
had what looked like
Wide leaves or narrow?
Right,
Wide?
a leaf blower.
with very sharp points, like nails.
Alto floor.
Sorry.
That's all right. So this gentleman was from the county, and he was in Lazy Point in the wetlands there, and I went over and said hi to him, and he told me he was hitting the hot spots, and it looked like a small leaf blower with like a cone or a shade, and he just worked a certain area, and then he had a little
Well-
gadget in his hand, and he went and did another area.
They'll do that if there are small enough areas and they can get to them.
Right.
And I think the problem with a place like Acabonic is
Getting to 'em.
there's hot spots in various places, and they'd have to spend a lot of time getting from one place to the next, and so that's why they use the helicopter.
Sure.
But I think typically the way they do it, other than, we're doing this sampling, so they have a good idea of what's where. Typically, though, they have their crews come out very early in the morning, 6 or something like that, and they spot test in a few places they know larvae will exist from experience. If they find it, they will blanket spray the whole marsh. So what we give them the ability to do is fine tune their spraying to only really the general areas that are needed. So that's one of the big advantages of this program.
Have you seen the videos? Has anyone seen videos of the helicopter? How it,
I've seen it work.
I've seen
it's
it work.
unbelievable. I mean, I said when I watched it recently, it was like 2 weeks ago, and a resident took pictures of this video, and they literally nosedived down and then curled back out. And I said, oh my God, this is like suicide flying. They're Vietnam vets, and they're retired, and there are 2 of them. But it really is just horrible. I mean, to me, I would be like, no, thank
I
you.
believe the first week they were spraying in that pig, police got a phone call that there was a helicopter crash.
Crazy helicopter crash?
Yeah,
We would,
yeah.
wow.
Because they
Yeah,
go
because it
down
goes
below
straight
the-
down. Yeah, I mean, it literally will go up and peak and suddenly just drop down, and then it's, just before it gets to the bottom, I think it's about 10 feet off the ground, and I tell you, you do not want to be in that kind of helicopter. No breakfast first.
They probably love it.
Yeah, it's probably exciting, I'm sure, but, anyway.
All right, anything else on that?
So we're due to go back on Monday. We get notified on Fridays whether or not we go. and-
Thank you for that work.
Yes.
Come along anytime.
Yes, and when yes, exactly. We are more than welcome to have guest samplers with
I'm
us.
allergic to mosquitoes.
What, they bite you?
Yeah, they make me stutter.
That could be a good thing.
Okay, move on, balloons.
All right, balloons, we're back to the education. I just want to say that, yes, I'm working again on the banning of the intentional release of balloons, because now more than ever, Mylar balloons are showing up everywhere, and people are really, I think, beginning to understand that, you know, we have this
What's the
proliferation.
town law on that?
We're still at the intentional release, which means you are no longer able to release 25 balloons at a time into the air for any purpose. Well, it's for celebrations, so I've started there. However, this Wednesday I'm meeting with Assemblyman Fred Thiel, because I had met with him months and months ago, and he asked me, how far would you like to take this? I said, all the way. He said, fine, it's my thing, I'll take it up to Albany. So I'm meeting with him again with, just to reinforce that we're moving forward. Southampton did pass the intentional release of balloon ban just a couple of weeks ago. I had made a presentation there. And then most recently, it went from the single-use plastic committee in Suffolk County Legislature, which is, now I'm on that committee attending all their meetings, but it's now moved to Legislature Sarah Anker. And so I will be going on my birthday to see this legislation hopefully passed. It will be on, it's on the table. So I'm looking forward to that, and then, of course, I'm going to continue on.
Now, this is on the state level?
Suffolk County and state. I have 2 things going at once. Suffolk County, the state would be Assemblyman Fred Thiel,
Yeah.
and then the Suffolk County is Sarah Anker, the
Okay.
legislator. So we're working both.
I thought Suffolk County already.
No,
Suffolk
they,
County had the law that you could release 25 of them.
Oh, okay.
The law-
I thought Suffolk County actually changed that.
no,
Not
that's where I'm going next.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's a step in the right direction, but it's not the ultimate goal here, because we need to really,
To me, it's such a no-brainer.
But you're really making progress.
we're making progress, but it's a slow, I always say the wheels of justice are square, and oftentimes they roll back. So, we're moving forward, and there's a lot of enthusiasm about it, and I think our towns are behind getting rid of the Mylar balloons.
Can a town circumvent the county and say, no more what are they?
Yes, we could, this town of East Hampton, I would like to, and I will go back at some juncture. I'd like to get a little more ground underneath me.
Right.
But we can, as a town, ban Mylar and latex balloons, period. Just like we banned polystyrene, we banned plastic forks and knives,
So
Southampton
is
did.
there resistance on the town board? I mean, I would think.
No, I
that-
haven't presented before the town board, but the letters that I had, 35,
we
36
did.
letters, we did, but that's to ban the intentional release of balloons. That was the first step. Okay? So the second part of this, that I think it requires that people become educated about it, and they realize, and the kids, that's why we visit the schools, that when you teach people what actually happens to the single-use balloon, latex and Mylar,
why it's not a good thing to have, and it's not celebratory, because it ends up in the garbage, in the dump, in the waterways, around or inside of wildlife. Oh, that sounds like my son. Got the cricket
Did anybody
noise.
drive down Town Lane on the 4th of July, by any chance?
Was it Mylar and latex?
Wasn't Mylar, it was latex. There must have been 50,000 balloons.
And you didn't call me?
I was afraid you'd have a heart attack.
No, because I would just hand out, the the
Big
information
fundraiser, yeah, at the horse farm.
from, and they were loose?
No,
Tied down.
I don't think it was a
but They had
fundraiser.
archways and
Really?
along the fences and.
See, I would have come and taken pictures of that, because that's important to show what is occurring in our community. Obviously, they don't understand, because latex is not biodegradable once it becomes a commercial product like a balloon. It is biodegradable in its natural form. So a lot of people have the understanding that, they say to me, oh, well, we're going to throw them away responsibly. But throwing them away responsibly means they go to the dump, and then they blow away, and then they get on the dunes, and
They
so-
get put on a trash barge.
put on the trash barge, going to wherever in the Pacific, and makes up more of a plastic island. So, it's a slow endeavor, and I hope to see the next step taken in our community as a whole, in our town, in our state. And, I try to come up with ideas for the children, and I ask the kids at school, what would be a fun thing for you to have at your birthday party? Or what do you think would be something that you would want to do that's celebrating your graduation, other than having balloons? Because what's the point? They're fossil fuel, Mylar, plastic. So, anyway, just wanted to give you the heads up on my next adventure.
Okay.
Thank you for helping me.
All right, Georgia Capone's property at 25 Cove Hollow Farm Road, revisions to the proposed planting plan and design narrative for the project.
Okay, this is one that we discussed at last meeting and maybe several meetings ago. The permit that they're asking us for is to cut and hand remove Phragmites, okay? But there's a bigger project here in that they had some violations related to clearing into the scenic easement. They have come back to the village with a plan to remediate that. The plan has been verbally accepted. They will be getting formal approval shortly. Personally, I think it is ready to vote on. We had held off as a consideration to the village to let the applicant settle up with the village and make a commitment to them. They have. The village ZBA has accepted that. I think it's ready to vote on, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. If not, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this.
Is that acceptance by the ZBA, like an official acceptance, or is it just now?
They had several meetings with the ZBA. It went back and forth. They made the changes to both the narrative and the planting plan that the ZBA asked for. At their last meeting, they approved it. The written approval has not been received yet, okay, as of last Friday. But I spoke to Billy Hayjack from the village. He assured me that he saw no bumps in the road here. I think that being the case, the door's open to approve this.
Can we do an approval subject to a written plan?
We have a written plan.
I mean,
You want to see it?
written plan from the village satisfying the violation.
Well, it is. We actually have all of the documentation that went to the village, and we had this at our last meeting, but at that particular time, the village hadn't voted on that yet. They had been in negotiations. They have since gone to, they've since voted on this, and it's been approved.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Do you want to read that at all?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Did this require a DEC permit at all? None.
All of that stuff's in place. It's
All in
been in
place.
place for a while.
All right.
The only thing they're waiting, the only thing that they are waiting on is Army Corps, but they've gotten some feedback from Army Corps that it does not appear to be an issue.
Okay, so we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Anybody else want to look this over?
Jim, did you get a copy of this one?
I did, and I went over there, and everything's in compliance. I'd record, that's another one that I would like to bring up tonight,
Yeah, I just didn't see it on the
is Birch.
It's not on here.
Yeah, if we could, can we touch on that?
Sure.
Okay, let's see, 31 Turbo Lane, this is a Phragmites cutting and hand renewal, okay? And we've kind of made it a policy to stop by these properties, basically evaluate them, what's been going on, whether they've been working within the permits. I stopped by the property the end of last week. It does appear to be totally in compliance. I'd like to recommend that we renew this permit.
I would second that.
All in favor, or
Aye.
any questions? So 1, 2,
Aye.
Aye.
okay.
Was this the wrong file?
This was the one that
That's old.
we had asked them for a little bit more. They did.
I sort of have a related question. Is this fall into the comments that we were trying to sort of get into the same time?
Not even more. He has,
It does.
I
It
have to
does.
tell you.
Is it gonna,
This one
Will it
expires
end?
November 15th, 2019.
We
The
don't
anniversaries
think
are
about
all lining up for that fall review.
so it'll be renewed as of those dates? and
Correct.
It'll fall into
They'll
that?
do that annual review process. We set up the photos narrative.
Bottom of his phone.
Site
He's fine. He let you.
Okay,
Can I just bring up,
No.
Bill asked me beaches again, just to bring it out in the public, that he's had the last couple of weeks a lot of complaints about the
Guys.
overflowing cans at Wyborgs in Egypt. He's, trying to keep track of, where we're getting complaints on the beaches.
Okay,
and-
it's funny you guys bring that up. We actually had a meeting with the village this afternoon, the Beaches Committee did, and it hasn't been the last couple of weeks. Specifically, it was over this past holiday weekend, okay? The Wyborgs Beach one, there was a private individual that had a party down there. It didn't require a permit. All the garbage was from that, seemed to have been related to that party. They put their garbage somewhat neatly around the garbage cans down there, but it was a lot of stuff, okay? Each,
Bill, I guess, I don't know if he has pictures of what, but complaints of
Okay.
it in the dunes, in the water.
okay, whatever, the village was very aware of it. They're working it, trying to work something to try and mitigate this, because, if they do a good job of cleaning the beaches here, and you don't have to go to just a village beach, okay? You could go to any one of our town beaches. At one point, or numerous points over the weekend, there were cans overflowing, there was
But they weren't on
garbage.
the beach.
There
The-
was
the
garbage.
issue is that
there was
they're not on the
garbage-
beach. Those are at the
Garbage
beach.
stacked there. As you recall, Susan, there was a pilot program in place in the village right now with Georgia, and they had problems with Georgia this past weekend, okay? They had not so much problems with garbage on the beach, but they had problems with garbage at the road end. And,
Well, that was everywhere in town.
that was everywhere in town. And you know what? I'm not gonna,
Token,
I'm
Amagansett, and
personally,
It's 4th of July
it's,
weekend.
it's a holiday weekend. Every bit of our infrastructure is stressed, from garbage pickups to the EMS, to the fire, to the police, to everything. And you know what? We cope, we manage to get things cleaned up, and we move on. Up to this point, I would like to point out that I've been down to Georgia Beach pretty much on an every 3 or 4 day basis, checking that, and there's been no garbage on the beach, other than a few stray individual things, a couple Mylar balloons that were lodged in the sand. We took care of it. But overall, there's no cans overflowing. The village has done a very, very efficient, effective job at dealing with that. They still struggle, though, with like another pickup. And it's a manpower issue, it's a cost issue, and in the meeting today, they offered something which I didn't think was totally unfair. They said, listen, if you guys want to pick up the trustees fee, the cost of the 11 o'clock pickup, that would be a big help to them
11 o'clock in the evening.
11
in the
p.m.
evening.
Yes.
And that'd be
We
in the
tried to come up with some alternative ideas to help mitigate
Now, is
the
that for all
problem.
beaches or for a pilot beach?
That would be for all beaches.
All beaches.
This is a long-range look.
Yeah, I mean, they're dealing with it, and, with the exception of going to the beach either at the wee hours of the morning or late at night, those beaches are kept damn clean, okay?
What time is their,
Seven-
early- what time do they go out?
They go out.
They can't go out
further
before 7 a.m.
Yeah.
That was a big thing, too, because so if somebody's there at the beach at 6 a.m. in the morning, they're going to see debris, if there's going to be debris at all. So, but at 7, because of the noise ordinance in the village, they cannot come on and pick up things before then. So
So by
they're
8
there at
o'clock in
7
the
a.m.
morning, everything's in
No,
good shape.
it's even probably before that. I've watched those guys in action. They do a very efficient, very effective job.
But I think the bottom line is that the feedback from the pilot program at Georgica was, from you and from them, was overall positive. The meeting went well, and the plan to meet again after Labor Day to examine the results of the pilot project, and strategize for a game plan for next year seems to be in place and moving along well. So what I took from that meeting was that we're going to meet after Labor Day, discuss the pilot project, and strategize for next season.
So
And I'm sorry.
if we were to agree to this, would they start it this season?
Well, this was a very
An 11
preliminary
11 o'clock pickup?
discussion.
Well, but why stop? Let's keep it going.
I thought of maybe it was not a good idea ultimately because of the insurance and so forth, but I thought maybe a community program where young people could earn,
Well, where's the insurance issue?
well, because if they're on the beach, and liability.
I assume they'd be using village
Rules in the
employees?
fingers.
No, no, well, I was thinking outside the box to get the extra help in terms of students who could
You're
work
into
over
an
community
overtime,
credit.
you're into an overtime situation, and it has to be voluntary, okay?
Well,
You
that's why
can't-
they turned it
You
down.
can't force somebody to work overtime, okay? To get somebody to come out at 11 o'clock at night to work for 2 hours.
But that's clearly what's missing here, is that late night pickup.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it was picked up at 11 o'clock, there would be very little accumulating the rest of the evening.
Yeah, but the town of East Hampton struggles with the same thing, Francis.
Well,
But that's the right.
well, I don't want to get into, that doesn't address the cans on the beach issue. There could be, other manifestations that partially address cans on the beach, have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can go with this.
You know what, we're moving.
The key thing that Chris is articulating is that we came away feeling that we're working together, we want to make this work right, and we want to keep the beaches clean. So I think from that standpoint, we had a very productive meeting. And it's the more we talk with each other, the more ideas, the more solutions will come up. And I think we agreed that the pilot program, let it go through the summer, see how it is. We'll meet again in September after Labor Day. But they encouraged us and want us to have an ongoing working relationship, which I think is so important for both governments.
I thought the productive thing, and Chris Correll has a lot to be thanked for that, was our dialogue extended well beyond the garbage on
Yes.
the beach. It was a very productive discussion. It related to some of the village's prior literature. It spanned some of their prior legislation and how that could be remediated,
And their website,
and their website. So
description on the website.
the village is actually turning into a very good partner here, and harping on something that's painfully obvious to everybody when it's a systemic problem townwide, for our own self-aggrandizement or whatever. I don't think it doesn't do anybody any good, because it's not moving anything into any sort of a productive discussion.
It's just to keep talking about it, kind of like the balloons. If you keep talking about it, more people will be aware of it, and hopefully either change their ways or come to some kind of agreement where we
Well,
can
we've been,
solve the
but
problem.
you know what? We've been working towards
You
that.
know, I don't think we
Yeah.
should not stop talking about it, just
No, I
because.
think today was a really, I think we all walked away and felt very positive about a new relationship with the village to work together to accomplish the things that all of us are distressed about. And Chris, thank you. I want to thank you for organizing this.
Thank you.
Jim said that you were the key person who got everybody together. So I think we will be productive because we have one common goal. We're one community, and that's how we have to look at it. I look at it that way. We're not single and separate. We have the same goal. Clean beaches, clean town, waters.
Anything else on that? All right. It's going to be a quick minute. Administrative.
Because so soon.
Payment of the bills. Whitendale's Florist, $173.80.
I'd like to make a motion to pay the bills.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we don't have any minutes. We have a financial report for the month ended June 30th.
I would just make a very quick motion that we give everybody an opportunity to look at it, if they have any questions, and then we'll revisit it at our next meeting.
Okay. Is there a second on that?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. The only thing I have under report of the clerk is I received a phone call over the weekend. Unfortunately, people are trying to get to the gut at Georgica Pond, and because the trustees' land is actually a river at this point, there's no place for the trucks to park. And Georgia Association is asserting their ownership rights for the summer. So there's like the high water mark down and the high water mark back. There's no room for anybody to park. So at this point, access is limited at best. So just so everyone's aware, and that's where we are.
Not for nothing. It's not just the Georgia Association asserting their ownership. If anybody's been down there, it's pretty well wired up for piping
Yeah,
blowers.
the birds are taking up most
So
of the
the
real
area's,
estate.
the area's pretty encumbered.
Mhm.
There was some talk a few years back, and Rick was our attorney, about doing a little research over there to really make sure all the ownership boundaries are accurate down there. He felt we might have more ownership rights than are currently documented. So just on behalf of the public, we may at some point want to do a little research there.
That fits in with our scheme of doing a little more research on everything, right?
Well, but unfortunately, what we have now is,
It's
we
limited.
understand we have a 110-foot
Yeah.
wide
And
strip
there's a lot of,
from
there's
the
a lot
pond
of
to the
court.
ocean, and that's underwater right now.
Have you seen the court documents on that?
Is that actually on our strip? I
Well,
mean, I
that's
know
where we make the
and-
cut. That's where we,
It wanders a little bit, it may, at this point, it may wander a little bit
It
on
almost
the
looks like
later
it's back
side.
where it started.
In which
But it's-
case, some of our property would be sand.
But not very much, and you still, like Francis mentioned,
there's
You're
no
still-
room to even turn the
you're
vehicle
still
around. right now.
you're still crossing the
Yes.
Georgia Association's
The plovers
beach.
down there.
And you know what, right now, it's like a minefield down there.
Yeah,
There's nothing really to do down there, but wait for the plovers to get out. I
Yeah.
mean, we've got,
Are the plovers on the west side of the
they're
town?
on both
Both
sides.
sides, yeah.
And I'm
Actually,
sure
it's
if
been a
they
pretty
run,
good year for them, so
The ones on the west
it's
side,
not flying the
I
face
think
of it.
they catch, like on Friday, before the
Oh, they
4th of
did?
July weekend, yeah.
Oh,
They were worried about them falling into the cut.
yeah, but now they have to survive.
Now they have like 28 days from the time to hatch. So it shouldn't be much longer unless
Right,
another
but if they
bear
don't
shows up.
survive, they'll lay
Yeah,
again.
that's their trick, yeah.
Mhm. Well, that's,
a good sense of
tried 3
humor.
times in a season.
These letters you received were
They weren't letters, I received a phone call.
Yeah, I
Two
spoke
phone
to
calls.
Ed Michaels
Yeah.
about it too, because he fielded quite a few phone calls
Yeah.
about it as well.
The other thing I'd like to just remind the public is that if you're walking your dog, make sure you have a leash, because we don't want the dog to run up into the dunes and eat the eggs or eat the chicks. And you can imagine how quickly one you know, the dog could devastate an area, and I've seen it. People are just not paying attention. So you have to have a leash, or you will receive a ticket. That's a fact, so please, leash your dog.
And clean up after your dog.
All right.
Water runoff.
And take that bag with you. Don't leave it on the beach.
That's right.
Don't bury it on the beach.
Take it to your own garbage can.
Okay.
That's nasty stuff.
And so, and we have a few pieces of correspondence. We have a note of appreciation from Annalise
Yes.
Mendelman for a scholarship.
Yeah, that's from the Captain Ransom Scholarship Fund.
Note of appreciation from the Cornell Cooperative Extension for a $500 gift for Back to the Bays in support of the Horseshoe Crab Alternative Bait Project. And a note of appreciation from the Cornell Cooperative Extension for the $2,500 gift that we made to Back to the Bays Initiative for submarine groundwater discharge study.
And I was really happy that this year we were able to give out 2 awards. One was 500, I think the other was 250. You know, we had some additional monies, and the actual piece, the letters that we got, the project info from the winners, and all of them, everybody was really in-depth, and they took their time. I've seen some pretty weak ones in the past, and these kids really took their time and explained just how much they love East Hampton and what the trustees do. So it was nice.
Yeah, and it was a lovely celebration, award evening.
Yeah, cool.
Very nice, so.
Yeah, that's good.
Anybody have anything else?
No,
Can you
no.
get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Thank you, everyone.
On,